salty Gulf Coast to the rolling high plains, to the piney woods in the east. All across our dear Texas, folks need good food to eat. Our farmers and ranchers are heroes. They've always made Texas great. Texas agriculture matters. It's the heart of the Lone Star State. Oh, Texas got it all, y'all.
Well, howdy, neighbors. I'm your Texas Agriculture Commissioner, Sid Miller. Hey, thank you for joining us for another episode of Texas Agriculture Matters right here on RFD TV. Now, today, we're going to explore the diverse world of mushrooms. Our state boasts over 10,000 species thriving right here in Texas. Mushrooms often are categorized as vegetables, and they are a type of fungi that offers numerous health benefits. Hey, they're rich in selenium, vitamin D, vitamin B6, and they play a key role in supporting cell growth, which makes them a good addition, to anybody's diet. Now, mushrooms stand out for their ability to add a savory flavor to any recipe, yet they remain remarkably low in sodium. Now, that makes them a delectable superfood. Now, these fungi friends are loaded with powerful sources of nutrients. Whether you're making mushroom quesadillas, chicken and mushroom wild rice soup, or grilling portobello mushrooms, the versatile flavors make them an endless array for your recipes. Now, the most common edible mushrooms grown in Texas are the chanterelles, the morels, oyster mushroom, shiitake mushrooms. Now, chanterelles have a fruity aroma and a mild peppery flavor, while shiitakes are known for their umami taste, and they're used in a lot of Asian cuisines. Alternatively, morels have a honeycomb appearance, while oyster mushrooms have a softer, more delicate look to them. Because of our state's diverse climate, the landscape offers suitable conditions for a variety of species of mushrooms to grow. Now, let's go join Tammy Arnder as she visits with Richard Grant in Llano, Texas at Enchanted Mushrooms. Hey, mushrooms, just another way Texas agriculture matters.
Mushrooms, a fungi that's separate from plants and animals. Technically, they're not a vegetable, but they're often used and served as a vegetable in recipes. For Richard Grant of Llano, Texas, they're not just a tasty addition to the menu, they're a livelihood.
Enchanted Mushrooms is it's a micro farm where we cultivate currently about 6 different species of gourmet mushrooms.
Grant transitioned from an auto machinist, souping up vehicles and rebuilding cars, to helping folks rebuild their health through mushrooms.
Some of these are tougher to get off than others.
So in this climate-controlled trailer in his backyard, he grows these culinary delicacies. Research shows that mushrooms may fight cell damage because they're rich in antioxidants. They improve brain function and support bone health.
Yeah, so a lot of these mushrooms that we cultivate are gourmet mushrooms as well as medicinal mushrooms. One of which is one of the most popular is the lion's mane mushroom. And it has been found to regenerate the myelin sheath. It's kind of like the insulator, if you will, of the nervous system. And they got our snow oysters, our black king oysters, our blue oysters, chestnuts, and our lion's mane in here.
Grant grows these varieties for Llano County area restaurants and farmers markets, as well as for his medicinal tinctures. He says growing a consistent product is one of the biggest challenges.
Anyone can grow mushrooms. It's not that tough, but with us, consistently, and you have all the variables and all the parameters, and then not to mention you've got these restaurants. They're making a living. These cooks, these chefs, these waiters, they're all making a living. They're taking our product and they're putting it into their menu, and they're deciding to count on us and put their livelihood on us. So it's very, very critical and very important that we are consistent with what we are doing here, just for that simple reason.
But Grant's mushroom mission goes beyond the menu. He has developed a way to use the bioproduct, the leftovers once the shrooms are harvested, into a fertilizer for those wanting to improve soil health.
So we cultivate the mushrooms, then we have our feedstock, and we'll take those and we mix them with an organic nitrogen source. We use chicken manure because it's very, very hot. We're giving these microbes everything they need, the optimal environment for them to do what they're there to do, to get the work done that they're there to do. It's just very rich. It's rich in humic acids. It's rich in beneficial bacteria. There's a lot of talk about bacteria and how critical that is into soil. And this stuff is just very, very full and lush with it. The way you know good quality compost is when it's still moist and it's wet, and you squeeze it and it smears and it doesn't stink. It smells earthy. That's good compost.
After a couple of months in the barrels, it's time to make a compost tea, which can then be spread to farm fields and pastures, creating a healthier growing environment, helping other farmers and ranchers get the most out of their land.
And the nutrients available to the plant are just going to be so much more concentrated. So you're going to get way more nutrient dense hay, therefore you're going to get way more nutrient dense cattle, and then you're going to get way more nutrient dense people and healthy people. So it's a full cycle, and we believe it begins at the soil.
While mushrooms may be a unique segment of agriculture, they're proving to be not just a star on the dinner plate, but a real weapon when it comes to improving the soil and our overall health. It's one of the main reasons Grant decided to become a mushroom farmer.
One of my passions has always been to heal people. You know, since I was a young boy, I've always just had that urge to heal people. And this is a way that we saw that we could do that and make a living at the same time through the well-being, if you will, of mushrooms.
I'm Tammy Arender for Texas Agriculture Matters.
Hey, today it's my pleasure to have Tony Stahersky joining me. Now, Tony is the CEO of Kitchen Pride Mushroom Farms. Tony, thanks for being on our show today.
Nice to see you.
So to get us started, just tell us a little bit of your background and about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been in the business of agribusiness for over 20 plus years in Texas. Started my career in logistics, and throughout that career got the pleasure of working for a wonderful Texas family out of Dallas for over 20 years, the Hardy family, and founded a company and been working in agriculture and buying and selling produce for most major markets, Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, working closely with Texas farmers, schools, K through 12, restaurant industry, and our retailers. So been very active in the marketplace.
Well, tell us a little bit about Kitchen Pride, but I've grown just about every crop known to man, but I've never grown mushrooms. How do you get into mushroom farming?
I wish I was smart enough to have figured this out after college. But,
Oh, really? Wow.
Took me a while to get here. But yeah, mushrooms are a controlled environment grow, so everything's indoor, but it's very different than your traditional indoor growing like a lettuce or an herb. It involves a Dutch style of farming that was invented across the world and originally imported into Pennsylvania. What most people don't know is about 60% of the industry of mushrooms are grown in one town in Pennsylvania.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Kennett Square, Pennsylvania. So the fact that Texas has its own supply of mushrooms is pretty incredible. So we are one of the major farms in Texas. We grow 1.2 million pounds of fresh mushrooms a month.
Did you say million?
Million.
That's a lot. That's a lot of mushrooms.
It's a lot of mushrooms. So it's two primary varieties, which is the white button mushroom, like what you see on your salads and pizzas, and then the cremini or the baby bella, which are very popular in the marketplace, and also portobellos. Kitchen Pride was also one of the first farms in Texas to grow exotic mushrooms like oysters and shiitakes also.
To grow over 1 million pounds of mushrooms, you've got to have I'm guessing, some kind of state-of-the-art. You're just not dumping some compost out there in the cellar and
No.
growing mushrooms. Tell us about what
so-
type of equipment, what kind of operation you have to grow over 1 million pounds of mushrooms.
It's a very significant operation. So the farm's on 300 acres in Gonzales, Texas, just outside of Shiner. So it starts with composting, much like a cattle or a herd. You know, what you put into the mushrooms, what you're going to get out of it. So we have a very, very complex composting process, and it all starts with wheat straw that is grown here in Texas. So we consume over 20,000 acres of fresh wheat straw grown in Texas. along with a significant amount of chicken litter and other agricultural inputs that are byproducts from other crops, and that's how we create our compost. So it's about a 30-day cycle from the time we start to the time we're getting the product, the compost into the rooms for the grow, but we create about 800,000 pounds of compost weekly. That's what feeds the crops, and that's what makes Kitchen Pride pretty special.
That's a lot of chicken litter, as they say.
A lot of chicken litter. And that's an interesting part about mushrooms is it really reaches into other parts of cover crops like wheat and agricultural byproducts like chicken litter. You know, we're using all of the attributes of what's available in our community.
So, changing gears a little bit, and I find this fascinating, but tell us, I've heard there's certain health benefits to mushrooms.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of you see it in health food stores and you know, Whole Foods, things like that. So tell us what it is, because I don't know.
Mushroom Mondays is what they're talking. It's very popular right now. Mushrooms are very getting a lot of publicity, mostly recently for the cognitive health benefits of eating mushrooms. There's a lot of studies is people are becoming more aware of how they eat and affects their cognitive balance. Mushrooms are very tip of the iceberg, but really the benefit of eating a mushroom is being an antioxidant. I mean, that's traditionally what mushrooms have been known for. They're very healthy to eat. They're very low calorie. They're high protein. They've always been used as a supplement for meatless if you have a vegetarian, so commonly used as a meat substitute. So very high protein, very low calorie, and very high in antioxidant benefits.
Well, this is fascinating. Hey, folks, we got to take a break. We'll be right back, though. Stay tuned. We're going to talk to Tony about mushrooms. Well, welcome back, folks, to Texas Agriculture Matters. I'm your host, Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller. Now, let's continue to talk mushrooms with Tony Stahersky. Now, you know, I've got balers to put up my hay. I've got combines to harvest. How do you harvest these 1 million pounds of mushroom? What kind of equipment do you use?
Very carefully. About 95% of the crop, maybe slightly more depending on the time of year, is hand-picked. Hand-picked. So we have a hand harvesting crew that comes through the rooms every day. You get 3 harvests on every crop. We have 1 crop every week. So we have an activity 365, 7 days a week. The mushrooms don't wait. So we have to be on the harvest at all times.
That's kind of like running a dairy, isn't it?
It's very similar. No matter what we do, those mushrooms are doubling in size every 8 hours.
Double every 8 hours?
Every 8 hours, they're doubling in size. So we have to be very, very attentive to the stage of the crop to be able to get them off the beds and get them into our state-of-the-art packaging house that gets them ready for commercialized sales. So,
obviously, you got certain challenges. Maybe it might not be the same as other farming operations. What are your biggest challenges?
It's obviously just like any other agriculture. Just because it's indoor doesn't leave us negate to what's happening outside. So temperatures, drought. Obviously, the droughts that have happened in the last 2 years in Texas have significantly impacted the wheat crop. So that's caused some pressure on the farms. But, you know, we're just managing all the environmental factors that happen with the inputs that we use. Even though we use the same type of processes week in, week out, results vary. So you've got to be constantly reading the crop to be able to get the best results.
Now, your company is a Go Texan partner.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're part of our Go Texan family.
We are.
The restaurants you sell to, are those part of the Go Texan family? Who do you sell to?
Yeah, we have partners in all segments of the industry. So we service some of the very, very well-known retailers across the state. We also service heavily into the food service market through distributor partners. So we don't go directly to the restaurants. It's just too much crop. But we go to distributors that make contracts with
And they
end
do it,
users,
yeah.
and then they distribute our product throughout. So we work very closely in marketing our crop to make sure about 90% of the crop stays in Texas. We do have a little bit of product that gets outside, but the majority of our crop gets consumed in Texas.
If somebody wanted to grow some mushrooms, just get started, maybe as a hobby for their own family, or maybe they want to get into it commercially, what kind of advice could you give them?
Yeah, I mean, mushroom growing is certainly something that anybody can do as a hobby, just like all agriculture. You can start small and take it to wherever you want. Understanding what resources you have for composting is probably the most important.
Okay.
You want to be able to find stuff locally that's available to you to be able to create a compost that's suitable to, cost-effective composting. Secondly would be to study. There's amazing books, there's amazing data about how to grow mushrooms, and it's widely available. The industry is very open and collaborative, so there's a plethora of information to get out there and read about and understand how to grow mushrooms, even in a hobby format. So if you want to do it commercially, I would be starting to look for some lending partners.
Money's the key, right?
Money's the key, but it's a very scalable business because it's so repeatable. So it would be great to see some new activity in the marketplace.
Okay. Last question: why do you think Texas agriculture matters?
I mean, listening to the opening of your show often, it's the heartbeat of our economy. I mean, we have a lot of families that depend on this farm. We have a lot of partner families that depend on the farm. We reach into the chicken industry. We reach into the cover crop industry. We service a lot of industries that are dependent on our products. So it's just the backbone, and it's just great to get up every day and work with folks that are committed to a lifestyle like this.
Tony, thanks for being with us today. I've certainly learned a lot about mushrooms, and so thanks for sharing with us, and continue to do the good work of growing those mushrooms. Now, let's take another look at one of our great Go Texan partners. For over 20 years, the Texas Department of Agriculture's Go Texan program has helped promote products made right here in the Lone Star State. From boots to salsa, Go Texan members make the best stuff on earth. Now, friends, let's take a look at one of these fine Texas businesses and why they are Go Texan proud.
Go Texan every day.
Sweet Heat Jam Company started in 2011 with an idea, and the idea was that we could create a product that the community would embrace, as well as a culinary program that would help students with intellectual disabilities to be able to, after they're done graduating from high school, have a sustainable employment and all of the social aspect of things that they need after they graduate from high school. And from that stemmed this wonderful company that has now been in existence for about 13 years. When we were looking at job possibilities for our son Nolan, who does have Down syndrome, and when we were getting to that crossroads in our life of what he was going to do next, the options that were being made unknown to us were pretty dismal as far as being able to reach that child's potential. And that's the thing that we were trying to hone in on, was let's not just put someone in a job that we've created, but let's create a job that they love, and to really work on what their strong assets are. So we saw that Nolan loved cooking, but we didn't want to limit it to just him, because then that social component wasn't going to be filled. So at the time I was working for a nonprofit art organization. They were doing performing arts, they were doing visual arts, and I said, why don't we do something for culinary arts? And the director said, you go do that. So we created this test market with just Nolan as that first person to see what that would look like. And so we brought it out into the community and we said, this is what we would like to do, and we would love to hear your response. The response was so positive that we just said, it's got legs of its own, let's keep going. So jalapeno jam came from the idea that Nolan at the time was growing these jalapenos in the backyard, and he wanted to do something with them. And we felt like, we don't want to do salsa because it's too tricky, where you've got to have the canning just right. We wanted to have something that was a little bit more sure-proof for not only him, but maybe other students in the future. And that's how the jalapeno jam came into play. And now we're at 16 different flavors of jam that started with just that original flavor. The team was asked if they would make a special jam this year that would represent World Down Syndrome Day. And so this year in 2024, they launched a Tri-Berry Heat. And the story behind the Tri-Berry is that the official name for Down syndrome is trisomy 21. And so they thought, we're going to add 3 berries, which is the tri, to make into this jam. And so a portion of those proceeds, $2 of every jar that is sold, is going back to organizations that head up things of research, education, and support for families that have children with Down syndrome. To become a member of the Go Texan team was, to us, was just hand in hand. It was like, we want to brag about the fact that we're made in Texas. And so it was a perfect fit. And then Nolan got to meet some of the people that are part of the Go Texan team, like Sid Miller, and just feel like he was one of them.
We are Go Texas proud.
You're Texan every day.
Well, neighbors, thank you for joining us for another episode of Texas Agriculture Matters. Hey, I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about Texas mushrooms. Mushrooms play a vital role in the state's ecosystem, contributing to soil health, serving as a valuable economic resource, and supporting local farmers and businesses. Now, as always, I'd like to close by saying thanks to every Texas farmer and rancher who works from sunrise to sunset to help keep our rural heritage alive. Now, finally, here's today's cowboy logic. You know, the best sermons, they're lived, not preached. Thank you. God bless. And remember, friends, Texas agriculture matters.
From the salty Gulf Coast to the rolling high plains, to the piney woods in the east, all across our dear Texas, folks need good food to eat. Our farmers and ranchers are heroes. They've always made Texas great. Texas agriculture matters. It's the heart of the Lone Star State.
Oh, Texas got it all.